Ted meets Audrey, the girl of his dreams.
Did your ball land in my backyard again?
A model airplane, this time.
But they both live in a treeless world, yet Audrey dreams of one day seeing a real one.
Do you happen to know if there's, like, any place where I could get a real tree?
Ted sets out to find the mythical creature who protects the trees and bring one home to Audrey in the Lorax.
We've all just seen it. Liz, why don't you sum it up for me?
Contrary to its title, The Lorax is actually about a little boy named Ted and his crush on a little girl named Audrey, and how he would do anything to win Audrey's heart, including track down a living tree, because they live in the town of Thneedville, which is made out of plastic. I enjoyed this film, though I did feel it had a few plot holes.
I didn't understand the world that the Lorax inhabited. There's no trees, yet they have no problem eating.
They could be eating spaceman food. I mean, it's fine. Like, I don't need to know what they're eating.
But if we're in an oppressive society, this is essentially a post-apocalyptic environment, if you really want to break it down. The big ruler of this town is a business. It's the people selling them air, O'Hare Air, who don't want any trees planted, of course, because in there you don't have a business anymore because the trees are going to cycle air. Why don't they become more oppressive? Why is it that people know about trees?
Because that's not what this film is. It's not a specifically political attack on any frame of thinking about the world or any economic system. We just happen to have an overbearing, very tiny villain who happens to be a business head, but he's not Hitler.
He's in a blimp. He's got cameras on every corner of the street. It's Big Brother.
I think it's a problem that we don't actually know. We don't actually know how the city is run. We don't know how this guy derived all his power.
In Wall-E, we were okay with that world, and it's actually a very similar, isolated world. The corporation owns the little city that they live in Wall-E. Like, why is that okay?
Yes, but that has an internal logic to it. I mean, that's my major problem, is if you have a fantasy, it doesn't matter if it's a fantasy. Sure, you can have elements that don't exist within our own world, but you have to have an internal logic that makes sense. But let's talk about maybe one thing about this movie that I did like. There's very, very few, but I thought that the voice cast did a pretty decent job.
Well, I was expecting it to be the Danny DeVito show, because a film called The Lorax, you think that the Lorax is going to be the star, but really Danny DeVito's in like 1/3 of this movie, and he's good. He's adorable as a cute little Lorax, whatever that is. Spirit of the trees. Ed Helms plays the Onceler, which turns out to be one of the major roles in the film.
Ed Helms is the only actor here who really creates a performance and creates a character. He has to play both young and old. When Danny DeVito talks, he's charming, he's funny, but you hear Danny DeVito. I mean, that's the voice coming out of this creature. And then Zac Efron and Taylor Swift aren't really voice actors. They're just sort of cast because they're Zac Efron and Taylor
They'll
Swift.
get distribution. They're popular internationally.
This is a musical, but they never utilized Taylor Swift singing or Zac Efron singing.
They're
I
both
just
singers.
didn't really understand that, but I did like the voice acting, and I really liked Danny DeVito, and I really liked Ed Helms. Danny DeVito and Ed Helms had a really strong relationship, and Danny DeVito's character, it was so fatherly. It's like he was disappointed, he yelled at him the way the father would. He was kind of like Ed Helms' character's conscience.
Hey, where's your sneed? You sell it?
Hey, yeah, no, didn't sell it. Turns out it's ahead of its time, I guess.
Hey, you gave your best shot, right? What more can you do? Come on, take a seat. We'll deal you in.
I did think the animation was beautiful. I'm not a huge fan of 3D, so I'm not going to say that this is a film that you absolutely have to see in 3D. The color palette and the way all the characters were animated was really beautiful.
And I thought that the world was extremely cute. I mean, it just made you smile. The forest creatures were just so cuddly and cute. I think that you're right, that you could see it in 2D and it would be just as fine. But at least with this movie, you can tell the filmmakers had 3D in mind. Like, things did come out at you. The world was very vivid. It was a good 3D experience.
Well, let's talk about the message of this picture. Here's a movie that's talking about corporations as being this terrible entity. Don't cut down trees, don't produce product, don't have profit. And what is this movie? This movie is a children's film that's meant to sell paper tickets. They want you to put that extra price tag on there in order for them to profit with plastic 3D glasses. It's a plastic world that they hate.
There's an irony to a giant corporation doling out a film that's attacking corporations. Absolutely.
The larger theme is to do the right thing and to care. The Onceler character broke his promise. It wasn't the most horrible thing that he cut down a few trees, it was that he cut down all the trees because he was greedy.
No, it was that he wanted to prove himself to his family.
Looks like we're not going to agree on anything, so let's take it to a vote. Take your tickets.
The Lorax has some cute critters, but any sincere notion it's trying to present is swallowed by a very hypocritical message. Skip it.
Better than a babysitter, but not as good as Big Miracle. The Lorax is worth seeing, but not worth running to. So I say stream it.
The Lorax was ridiculously cute, and I felt happy leaving the theater. See it.
Looks like our votes add up to 1.5 tickets, which is a stream it for the Lorax.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
I can Lorax now that we're done with that review.